In this video, we'll be going over the rules so that you can be successful when foraging and not die. Coming right up. Hello and welcome to EcoElsa. Welcome back, my returners, and for those of you who are new and don't know me, my name is Elsa and I make videos to help you get outdoors and learn about environmental education. In this week's video, before we get started, I just want to do a quick shout out to Stephanie Middlemiss. Once again, Stephanie, thank you for purchasing some cool stuff from the EcoElsa Etsy shop. We got lots and lots of cool stickers available on there, and we appreciate you heading on to Etsy and buying some of these stickers. If those of you at home would like a shout out, head on over to Etsy to purchase some stuff or support us on our Patreon. Links in the description below. We have more to purchase than just stickers. We also have some mugs and some cool art prints. So check that out in the description. Now, for this week's video, we are going to be talking about the 5 rules so that you can be successful when foraging and not die. So let's get started. Number 1, know the rules of the land. So depending on where you're intending to harvest, what state you live in, what type of property you're on, you're going to come across a wide variety of different rules and regulations. And it's really important that if you're going to be a forager that you make sure to follow these rules. Because overall, the thing that happens is if people are having issues with other people foraging the wrong things, going off trail, taking too much, then what happens is they shut down foraging for everyone. So then no one gets to enjoy it. So don't be the person who ruins it for everyone else. Make sure you're following the rules, as well as because this is going to help you be respectful to the environment and the plants and animals that call it home by not taking too much and not damaging things. Now, when it comes to all these different systems, they all have a wide variety of rules, and that's why it's important to look up ahead of time for which specific rules are going to be on the land that you are on. Because even for different systems like counties and national parks, they may differ park to park unless they're all on a cohesive system. Now, examples for Minnesota are if you harvest on private land here, you pretty much can harvest anything on private land, plant and fruit and fungus-wise, as long as it's not endangered or protected species. So those are kind of your go-to follow-throughs. Make sure it's not something that's protected or endangered, and make sure it's not something that you'd have to have specific permits for because it has a season. So following that for fruits, plants, and fungus, as animals have a way different regulation system. Now when it comes to state lands, so our state parks, our state forests, and our wildlife management areas here in Minnesota, these all share 2 things basically in common. You can forage for fruits, so berries, plums, cherries, and you can forage for the fruiting body of mushrooms. So the actual mushroom part that comes out of the soil and grows, that's what you can take. Not the mycelium, which is the cool web-like structure underneath the mushroom that's growing through the soil and all the logs. That you can't take. Now when it comes to scientific natural areas in Minnesota, you pretty much can't do anything. So make sure you're looking up ahead of time that it is not an SNA that you're planning on going to, and if it is, check and see if there's specific permits you'd need for what it is you'd like to do. But odds are they are not going to be allowing you to forage for mushrooms or berries, so please don't do it. Now when it comes to city, county, and federal lands, this differs, like I said, depending on what state you're in, and even then park to park. Because some of them will allow some things and others won't. Dakota County might allow this, and Washington County might allow that. So make sure you're looking up that type of stuff ahead of time. As well as, even for national parks and national forests, they all will differ a lot, so it's good to look up that stuff ahead of time. And lastly, it's good to look up for that specific plant or mushroom that you're looking at foraging for, because some of them have restricted permits and regulations for foraging. So in Minnesota, things like wild rice, ginseng, and chaga, there are specific permits and regulations for harvesting these things. As well as keep in mind when I said that you can harvest for berries and the fruiting bodies of mushrooms in state parks, state forests, and wildlife management areas, this means you're only taking stuff for personal use. If you want to do any kind of foraging for commercial, as in you're going to harvest a bunch of mushrooms and sell them to restaurants, you'll need to have a specific commercial permit for it. So make sure you're looking into that stuff ahead of time as well too. Remember, all these different people who work here and they run these properties for all of us, they're public lands, they would rather have you guys check ahead of time for what you are able to do and not ask for forgiveness as you're getting a ticket written. So make sure you're following the rules. Number 2, be 100% certain, because your life might depend on it. When you're deciding to forage for and eat wild plants, there are a lot of edible plants, but there's also a lot of edible plants that have poisonous and deadly lookalikes. And so it's very important to make sure for your own safety and the people around you that you are only foraging for things that you feel confident, 100% certain, and properly identifying, so that way you are not harvesting the wrong thing and potentially getting really sick or dying. And this, like I said, is on you. If you are deciding to take this up as a hobby, it is your responsibility to learn these things and to not rely on other people to correctly identify things for you. And even then, if you're foraging with other people as a group, make sure you're double checking things and not just trusting people at face value that it is correct. This is what field guides and ideas are for. This is why we take photographs and we double check things, okay? Make sure you are 100% certain it is edible. Because even if it's not something that's going to outright kill you, you could have a lot of other fun things happen from eating the wrong plant. So let's say you're in a survival situation and you guys are running low on food, so you decide to forage for this plant. And turns out this plant is an extreme laxative, or it just makes you really sick. And so now you guys are all getting dehydrated because you are vomiting or going to the bathroom too much. As well as there's other fun situations that could happen, like buckthorn berries, for example, which are an extreme laxative. This means they make people go to the bathroom a lot. And you decide to pick a bunch of these berries and turn them into a jam or a pie. And what you have now created is a crap pie. And let's say you bring that crap pie to a party. Guess what's going to happen when everyone eats a slice of that? They're all gonna have to go to the bathroom about the same time. So this is why it's very important that you are being a responsible forager and you're making sure you're only harvesting things that you feel 100% confident in properly identifying. Because there's an old saying in the foraging community, anything is edible once, but is it edible twice? That means, do you get the opportunity to try and eat it a second time, or will it make you die or make you very sick and you won't want to eat it a second time? Number 3, be aware of potential contamination. So now that you know where it is you'll be harvesting and following the rules and what it is you'll be harvesting so you're not poisoning yourself, you need to keep in mind anything that it might come into contact with that might also make you sick. So this means things like herbicide, pesticide, animal waste. Is it downstream of a wastewater treatment plant or a landfill? Whatever the case may be, you can still get sick from eating a fungus or a plant that has been contaminated with something that is just not good for you and will make you sick. Now, if this is something that you are worried about, it's usually easier than to harvest things that are growing off of trees and bushes. So this is things like berries, or in places that do allow you to harvest them, nuts. Because nuts are the seeds of the next generation of trees and bushes, so most places usually don't allow you to harvest them, but there are a few that do, so just look them up and check them out. Number 4, store, wash, and prepare properly. So now that you're bringing all your foraged goodies back into the house and getting ready to either store them or cook them and eat them, you need to do these 3 things. First, if you're not going to cook them right away, make sure you're properly storing them so that they don't go bad. So store them however you would store the veggies and fruits and mushrooms you get from the store, as well as making sure you're not mixing them in with other fruits and vegetables, so that way you are not contaminating them in case there's any microbes or bacteria still on them that you are not used to coming into contact with, because it's not what's found in your garden if you grow your own fruits and vegetables, or it's not what you'd find on the ones that you purchase at the store. The second thing is making sure you are washing them properly. So a good rule and way of doing this is to soak them or rinse them with a dilution of vinegar and water. You don't have to make it super strong. You should still be able to smell the vinegar a little bit, but this is just to help wash off and clean them of anything lingering on them. It's also a good rule for anything you're purchasing from the store too, as you never know. And the last thing is, a lot of these you'll be able to eat raw and fresh if you'd like to, or you can still cook them, but others you're going to need to make sure you are cooking them so that way you can properly digest them and not get sick, or in case there's anything lingering on them because they were actually in the soil. So things like root vegetables and mushrooms are usually a good thing to make sure that you're trying to cook even just a little bit. And lastly, number 5, test it for personal safety. So just because something is edible doesn't mean you're not going to have some sort of allergic reaction to it. There's lots of things around the planet that some people can eat and others can't, and wild edibles are no different, especially when it's something new you're coming across for the first time. You don't want to find you're allergic to it after you've made an entire pie out of it and eaten a slice. That is not a fun way to find out on your way to the emergency room, or crapping your brains out in the bathroom. So this is why it's important to make sure you test things out before you start consuming large quantities of them. So the first thing you can do is take whatever it is that you're going to consume, whatever plant, mushroom, crush up a little bit of it and put it on some of this outer skin on the top or right here on the side. My go-to testing spot is right here on the edge of my wrist, and this is because this is a mixture of some of the tougher skin and softer skin. I have pretty sensitive skin. So my rule of thumb is if I'm going to have a skin reaction to it, I probably do not want to be consuming it. Now, there are some things that you will have a skin reaction to, but you won't have a stomach reaction to it. But do you really want to find that out if you're getting a rash from it? So my rule is if I get a rash from it, I'm not going to consume it because obviously I'm allergic to it in some degree. I might go back years later and try and see if it works again, but I will always start with my skin first. Now, the second thing that you can do is try eating a little bit of it, chewing it up in your mouth, and seeing if you have a really bitter taste in your mouth that makes you kind of want to go and get it out. Because humans evolved alongside plants to have this reaction to things that are poisonous. So if you're having this reaction and tasting this bitterness, it might not be something you want to consume because either you might have a reaction to it or you might have accidentally misidentified something and are chewing on something poisonous. Listen to your body. Okay? You don't want to force it with this. You're trying out a new plant for the first time or a new mushroom. And the third way that you want to test things out to make sure they're safe before you make a whole pie of them is consuming a little bit of it and seeing how your stomach reacts. So after you've gone through the first 2 tests, try them out the third way. If you have an upset stomach, if you get sick, you probably don't want to eat any more of it, and you definitely don't want to make a pie out of it. So these are the best tips for making sure that you are being safe when foraging for and consuming wild edibles. So I hope they've helped. Keep in mind, all these rules and tips are in place to help you guys stay safe when you're learning how to forage or if you're learning some new tips for foraging. We don't want you dying. That is the very big goal out of all of this. We don't want you dying, we don't want you getting sick, and we want foraging to be a fun and successful experience for all of you. So make sure to follow these rules and tips and anything else that's going to help you keep safe through this experience. We understand that a lot of you might be watching this video because you're nervous about the COVID-19 outbreak. It's understandable. We know you're scared and you want to learn some skills that might help you survive if you were in a survival situation. There's nothing wrong with that, but you need to make sure you're following these rules and not trying to force something because you're scared and you're not using good judgment. So please, 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 please follow all these tips and any other tips that are going to help you stay safe when foraging for wild berries and mushrooms and plants outdoors, okay? So speaking of the COVID-19 outbreak, we have some good news for you guys from here at EcoElsa. To help teachers and parents during this interesting time that we're dealing with, we will now be offering all of the EcoElsa downloadable materials on Teachers Pay Teachers for free. So this is through the COVID-19 pandemic. Head on over there, link in the description below. Otherwise, search EcoElsa and Teachers Pay Teachers. You'll have access to lots of free worksheets and activities and cards and things to help you and your kids stay active and learning, and maybe even get outdoors a little bit if it's safe for you guys to do so. Make sure you're social distancing. The next thing going on is, as you might know, we had to cancel a lot of our different programs and classes because we didn't want to help with the spread of the virus. We wanted to help contain it. So that's why we made the decision as a business to cancel and pause a lot of programs. It's sad, I know, but thank you a lot of you guys for checking in on us for how we're doing. We really appreciate it. And to make sure that we're still here and we're still offering you guys lots of resources that you normally would have to pay for with a class, we have now set up a Patreon. So link is in the description description below. You can head on over to there, and there's a lot of different membership levels with lots of different resources and things included in each of them. So we hope you guys enjoy that, and we find this as a great resource for you while we're dealing with all these interesting things, so that you can keep learning and maybe even getting outdoors a little bit too. Next, as you might remember, we had to put the EcoElsa giveaway on pause for March because we were dealing with all of this stuff and trying to figure out how it was going to affect us and what we were going to do. So now we are going to be resuming the EcoElsa winter giveaway. We have our big final giveaway for April that's going to be on Earth Day. So we also will be taking our March newsletter giveaway and combining that with April for one big super giveaway. So to be entered to win any of these cool prizes, what you need to do is make sure you are following and liking and subscribing to us on all our different platforms, links in the descriptions below, as well as head on over to our email list and make sure you subscribe to that, so that way you can be entered into the big EcoElsa email list portion of the big giant finale giveaway. We are going to be giving away dozens of prizes, tons and tons of prizes, as well as email subscribers get a sneak peek of what we are giving away. So make sure to head on over and do that. And lastly, this video is dedicated to Stephanie Middlemiss. Once again, thank you for heading on to our Etsy shop and purchasing some really cool EcoElsa stickers while you were on. We hope you are enjoying those stickers. We'd love to see some photos if you'd like to send them to us. For all of you watching at home now, you now have the opportunity to get your name shouted out in a video 3 different ways, and you can do this by purchasing stuff on our Etsy store, by leaving a suggestion for a video in the comments below, and there's another way to get on the short list over on Patreon, so head on over to there and check that out too. So unfortunately, that is all we have for you guys today. We hope you enjoyed today's video, learned a lot, and we hope you be safe when you're going out foraging. So as always, we hope you have a great rest of your week. You be safe, learn lots, have fun, and get outdoors. We'll see you out there hopefully soon.